All right, we'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to join. Thank you, everybody, for being here today on your Monday lunch break, hopefully. All right, the clock has officially changed to noon, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, everybody, I'm super excited to join you today from the Division of Outdoor Recreation to talk about this fantastic grant opportunity, the Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant. It's been a couple years since we've run this program, and we're really excited to bring it back and to tell you guys all about it today. We're going to do a presentation first. It'll take about 35 to 40 minutes, and then we'll have time at the end for questions. But if you have questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Patrick, our grant manager, is online as well to help answer them as we go, as well as I'll do a formal Q&A at the end and try to answer those as well. All right, just to get started, my name is Caroline. I just wanted to introduce myself real quickly for those who don't know me. I'm a program specialist over here at the Division of Outdoor Recreation, born and raised in Utah, USU Aggie, go Aggies. I've had a bit of experience with working with youth in outdoor recreation. I've worked with a number of nonprofits taking kids in outdoor education and recreational opportunities, both nonprofits here, local, Summit Journeys and Summit Land Conservancy. So I was a camp counselor and a program specialist over there as well, taking kids out hiking and kayaking and climbing, as well as teaching them educational aspects about how to recreate within Utah. So I'm really excited to be able to head this program up and help these programs that you guys are all running to get more kids into the outdoors. I've been with the division since last January, so it's been an awesome experience. I also run the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, so I'm heavy in the grants department, which I'm really excited about. Sorry, here we go. So I just wanted to give a little overview for those who aren't familiar with the Division of Outdoor Recreation. We're a new division as of last year. It seems like we keep saying we're new, and maybe we can't say that anymore since we're, over a year old. But the Division of Outdoor Recreation houses many of our recreational assets here in the state of Utah. We have our boating and OHB programs. We run the Every Kid Outdoors program here in the division, as well as our grants and planning team, which continues to grow each month. It seems like we have new people joining our team, which is really exciting. So we run a few other programs. If you attended the Outdoor Recreation Summit just 2 weeks ago up in Ogden, that's put on by our division. We have the Outdoor Adventure Commission, which is a legislative commission kind of aimed at gearing and steering legislative funds towards outdoor recreation. So there's a lot going on within our division. Grants and planning and team is just one of those. There are many opportunities for funding within the Division of Outdoor Recreation. Today, we're just going to be talking about the Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education Fund. But just to give you an idea, these are all the grants that we fund out of our division. So if you're looking for infrastructure, for outdoor classroom spaces, for trail development, for skate parks, if you're looking for search and rescue equipment, as well as funding for that, we have a plethora of grants available to you. And I just wanted to give a plug for our grant workshop tour, which is coming up just in the beginning of November and towards the end as well, where we'll be visiting these cities within Utah. We'll go in depth about all those grants that I just mentioned. And so it'll be a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about all aspects of the division grants team and how you could maybe apply for other grants. So that's that. But with that, we'll go ahead and dive right into the Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant, which is why we're all here today. So like I mentioned, we've run the program before in 2020 during the heart of the pandemic. Patrick Morrison did an awesome job despite restrictions on people gathering to get that program out and about. But we're really excited to bring it back this year. Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation Education Grant, we'll call UCORE from now on to save a few breaths, allows organizations, cities, counties, and tribes to not focus so much on the infrastructure part of recreation that all of our other grants promote and allow you to apply for. But this one focuses on expanding opportunities for youth in the outdoors in a variety of ways. And we'll go through all those ways here in a second. But the main purpose here is to increase the capacity of organizations to bring youth into the outdoors to recreate and learn. We know there's a variety of ways to do that. We know you guys are already working well within that bounds to make this happen. And this is just an opportunity for you to expand your capacity to bring more youth into the outdoors in a more holistic and positive way, So we know that after the COVID pandemic, there was a ton of people aiming to get outside. It was where we could go and find solitude, social distancing. But ever since then, we've kind of had a question of, are there really youth getting into the outdoors as much as the adults? We see, our trails and our parks become overcrowded, but how many youth are actually out there? And studies have shown that there haven't been as many youth recreating in the outdoors since the pandemic as adults. We all know that spending time in nature has proven to be a positive way for children to improve their physical, mental, social, and behavioral health, and that outdoor recreation is a way to help lay the groundwork for youth to feel comfortable doing these recreational activities later on in life. I'm a very large believer that the reasons that I love to be outside so much are because my parents took the time to take us, skiing and hiking and boating, despite many groans and mumbles, I think, from me as a younger person. But I love to do those things now, I think, because I was shaped as a child to get outside. I wanted to just kind of show this word art here to show that, maybe we are going to be teaching people how to go biking or climbing or use boating, but other things as well, social skills, overcoming our fears, gaining a respect for nature, sharing, participating in something as a group. I think a lot of the times we find kids kind of in isolated activities in front of phones or screens, and being outside is a way for people to connect and really gain experiences besides just recreating, as well as, an overall health aspect. I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, I'm sure you guys all know this, but just another idea. Okay, when we were building the UCORE program, we kind of wanted to focus on 3 pillars: innovation, sustainability, and capacity building. And these are just things that as you're thinking and brainstorming about programs that you're going to be building, how can you apply these 3 ideas to your projects? So innovation, maybe you already have a program that's pretty successful. How are you innovating to create more diversity potentially in your group? How are you creating ways to get more volunteers or innovate the activities that you are doing with your youth? Sustainability, we know that with our other grants, people come year to year for us to require funding, which we're happy to help with, especially in phased projects or things that, with smaller communities, they just rely on our state and federal dollars to help with. But potentially, how could this funding be a way to jumpstart your program so that you aren't required to come back year after year, but this might get you a project going that now can sustain you over the next 10 years potentially. And then capacity building, how can you just increase the amount or the type of youth that you are serving? Are you allowing for more diverse groups through your programming? Are you allowing for people that might not always have the opportunity to come? And how are you going to alter your scheduling or the ways in which you serve youth by doing this? And we'll talk all nitty-gritty details a little bit later. We're just kind of giving you a broad idea right now about what we're looking for in terms of applications. Okay, so who can apply? I just pulled a bunch of logos from a few applicants that we had seen from the past. So obviously certified 501c3 nonprofit organizations are kind of the bread and butter that we see with this grant opportunity. A lot of youth programs tend to be nonprofits. Educational institutes, so that means anything from a K through 12, as well as a university, and then your local governments, so county, cities, park and recreational districts, etc., and then tribal governments as well. So as you can see here, we have a variety of things from school districts to outdoor adventure and adaptive groups, the Wasatch Mountain Institute and the Bicycle Collective, for example, were previous applicants of ours, and the Boys and Girls of America, as well as, extensions from Utah State University. So wide variety. If you're, a person that's just coming in to learn more about this program, as you're not affiliated with another organization, we'd encourage you to partner with another organization that is an eligible applicant to find ways to ask for this funding. Because although you might be a very, strong independent person that wants to get things done, the applicants themselves have to be one of these. Okay, activities eligible for UCORE grants. This is where we get exciting stuff. So there's a long list, obviously, that you can see on here. And I'll say just basically, if it's anything that's in your traditional, like it involves a ball or a sport court, these are the things that we're trying to avoid, right? If you're running a PE program that's just taking kids out onto the field and you're going to need kickballs or something like that, we're not funding that. We're funding things that take kids out a little bit further away from home, potentially into a new area. So it can be a close, it doesn't have to be out in the Wasatch Mountains or down in a forested area. It can be something in your local area, but it needs to apply to recreation in this sense of this list. So potentially it's bird watching at your local aviary, a lot of STEM organizations. We want to teach kids, nature and recreational activities combined. Maybe it's planting seeds, wildlife viewing, wildlife photography. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Every Kid Outdoors program. That's definitely something we want to promote, the activities that they're promoting as well. You can see where we're funding motorized as well as non-motorized sports, water sports, winter sports, all things outdoor recreation. If you have something in your mind that's not on this list, please come and talk to us. We are open to discussing different alternatives and ways that we might be able to support your program that might be not more in the traditional lane that we have here listed. But again, we love to work and see what creative ideas you guys might have. But that's our basic list for now. Let's talk about eligible costs and ineligible costs. So let's start with ineligible first, here on the right. Like I mentioned before, we have a lot of grants for infrastructure. So if you're needing an actual location to take your kids to, the outdoor classroom space and outdoor classroom grant is an awesome opportunity for you guys to apply there. If you're needing like a pavilion or an outdoor learning space, an actual physical structure, the outdoor classroom grant will be opening up in January and awarded in April of next year. So look for that coming up. We're only funding things within the state of Utah. So if you're bringing kids out of state, that's not going to be something eligible. We will fund transportation, just not out of state borders. We're not going to be doing any marketing materials or material design costs. So although we'd love to see you promote your group and promote your program, we will not be covering the costs for that. And then meal reimbursements for staff or for staff lodging or costs for staff. And then obviously your physical meeting space, if you do have one, we're not going to be paying for facility rentals, utilities, or costs associated with the program's physical meeting space. And then staff trainings. So we know that it's very important to have, first aid or EMT or things like this. Again, we really do encourage you to do that. We just will not be funding you to do that. Okay, now we can look to the green, a little more happy thoughts, things that we will be funding. So we can fund your staffing. If you need full-time or seasonal help with staff for your programs, go ahead and ask for that. Transportation, if you need just a bus that's chartered from your school to a field trip location, maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the year, you can ask for that. We'll help with trailers or bike racks as well if you need to purchase an actual facility to put things in and move it around. I mentioned that we won't be doing marketing materials, but we can do educational materials. So if you're asking for a map or a workbook or something that's something that you're going to hand out to the kids, we'll definitely help with the printing of those educational materials. If you have needs for food for the participants or volunteers, we can help with lodging costs for student participants. So if you're going to I pick on Wasatch Mountain Institute because they're just a great program. If you're going to go there and maybe do a camping experience there, helping that cost helping cover the cost for that. Insurance, we know that insurance is a big reason that programs don't get off the ground just because of the liability to take kids outside. So if you need help covering that as well, we can help you. Entry fees for field trips and education-based events. If you're just needing an entry fees covered for programs, that definitely can cover, that falls within the realms of this grant. We'd love to see you provide scholarships for underserved or underrepresented youth in your areas, whatever that might be. It would be awesome to see this funding go towards paying for some of those youth to participate in your programs, because we know there has to be some sort of fee usually associated with the program participation. And then, yeah, if you're making t-shirts and cool hats and things that you want to give out to your participants or volunteers, we can help with that as well. And then finally, just program equipment. So if you need to buy new backpacks or kayaks, binoculars, something like that for a program, first aid or safety equipment, that's definitely eligible. We will ask that if you're purchasing equipment, that you're not just purchasing the equipment without any sort of this other stuff going on. It doesn't help to just have backpacks, but how are you going to use the backpacks? Where are you going to take the kids with the backpacks? Give us a holistic idea of how you're going to be using the equipment that you hope to purchase. Okay, so I kind of just wanted to run through just some ideas. These are kind of ideas both of some things I've thought of as well as past projects that we funded. So perhaps you're needing to buy binoculars and booklets for a school class to go on a bird watching field trip. You have just a small cost, maybe it's $1,000 or so, that you need to provide those specific equipments. And then you also have staff and programming that will be involved. So something like that. If you need to hire a staff or a nonprofit organization to run a STEM-based after-school program, so you have, the students already in class and you just need to, or in the school, and maybe perhaps you come after school and teach them an extra curricular thing, or maybe it's during the school day as well. Again, offering scholarships to underserved groups to attend a week-long outdoors camp, just covering the costs associated with that. And then maybe it's chartering a bus to take kids to a local trail for a hike. And maybe you do this every month for a year or something. We'll talk about contract dates a little bit later, but it's 18 months that you have to spend all this money. So this can be costs incurred within the 18 months after your contract is given. And then maybe it's implementing a train the trainers program to increase capacity of certified youth leaders. I think a lot of the problems that we have is just not having enough personnel to take the kids out. So having somebody to come and train volunteers of how to take kids outside would be an awesome way to utilize and maximize and increase capacity for sure. All right, let's talk some money, everybody's favorite part. What kind of money do we have and how can we give it out? So just to give you an idea, in 2020, we handed out $100,000, and this year we're gonna have $250,000. So a large increase. And we're excited about that. There was a large demand for the grant that we gave out in 2020, showing that there is, twice as much interest in this grant that we have to give out. So we're excited to see this much going forward. I'm sorry, I should have the 2024 cycle. I guess 2023, we'll be finishing it up this year and handing it out next year. So how much can each individual ask for? We can ask up to $15,000. So if you do the math, if everybody asks for $15,000 and everyone's awarded their full amount, that's about 16 grants or so that we would be giving out. Historically, people don't usually need the full $15,000. And so if there's some playroom within that, but $15,000 is the cap. And we probably wouldn't we wouldn't fund things like lower than $500 with this grant. So that's kind of our minimum threshold there. So anywhere within that range you can ask. Match requirements is 20%. And I'll go into matching just in this next slide. So if you're not familiar with what a matching grant is, it just means that you are giving some of the money towards the project and we are giving some money towards the project. So 20% of the match is required, and some of that does need to be cash. There's not a set required about how much needs to be cash, but we like to see cash coming from applicants because we call it skin in the game, where you guys have some stake in what's going on and we see that you're involved in the project enough to give cash to the project. So with this match requirement, obviously the UCORE budget would cover 80% of your costs and you would be in charge of 20%. And this can be a combination of both in-kind and cash donations. And that means that in-kind donations, they're donations of goods or services. So for example, maybe your local gear shop donates the binoculars or backpacks that you need for a program, as opposed to you purchasing them from the local gear shop. This can also be volunteer hours. I have a little bit of that more on the other slide, but volunteers are a great way to up your in-kind match. So if you have people coming to help with your program, they've passed the background checks and they're coming to serve the youth, whatever hours they use can count towards your match. And the state rate of volunteers right now is $31.46. So it's a good number to use to maximize and get your rate higher. Cash obviously can come from other grants, private donations, or funding from other organizations as well as your own. So if you have some cash to give to the project, that's a great way to go towards your match. We understand that a lot of nonprofits and people in this space don't have money at all, and they're trying to get things going off the ground. So if you have no ability to come up with 20%, if it's impossible to get volunteers in your area, and if it's, you know, a really difficult ask to get cash as well, please reach out to us and we'll talk about it. We would love to have kind of a reasoning behind why you cannot meet the match requirement. And then are you going to be serving more underrepresented communities or things that might not fall in within a normal category. So there's room to be flexible here. We want to be flexible, but 20% match is going to be something that we do require. Okay, perfect. So just a quick budget tip thing. I think it's easier to work backwards from what you can contribute. So let's say you come in and you're a small organization that only has $1,000 to give towards your match. Let's see what we can do to stretch that. Obviously, using volunteers or donation goods or services to go towards the project is beneficial. But if you only have $1,000, then let's see what we can do to get you higher. Okay, so this is our budget. I wanted to just give a quick snapshot of this just so you're familiar with it. We do require everybody to submit their budget with this format. So it's pretty simple. We just look at lots of budgets every day with the grants that we manage. So we kind of have to have a system in place to get things orderly and easy for us to read. So this is what you'll see, basic project info. We want to put your project name, which hopefully is not just Youth Outdoor Camp and 501c3 for Utah Youth. That's not the most exciting name. But then you put your project county. And then each overview has a very detailed list of instructions. We want to make this as very easy. Make sure you read the italicized portion of what you're asked to put into this. So in this scenario that I'm going to show you guys, let's say you have a project that's worth $10,000. You know, it's going to be $10,000 to complete the project. And like I said in the previous slide, maybe you only have $1,000 from your group to put towards the project. So on this funding sheet, you would say, okay, I have $1,000 to put towards the project. The Division of Outdoor Recreation with the UCORE grant is going to give me $8,000 with a total cash of $9,000. The next slide shows us in-kind match overview. So like I mentioned, this is just donations of either volunteers or goods. So your 501c3 for Utah Youth used the volunteer rate of $31.46 to come up with a $500 ratio of how many people were volunteering with your organization to come up with that match. And then the local gear shop in town donated $500 worth of equipment as well. So with that, you've got $1,000 of in-kind donation. And again, with our scenario of $1,000 coming from the cash from your applicant, $1,000 coming from the in-kind donation, that's $2,000, which qualifies you for the 20% match of a $10,000 project. This next slide, it looks a little scary. Don't be intimidated, but it's just going to go into detail about what cash is going to what area of the project. So let's say you are asking for the bus to charter for this field trip with UCORE, and you're also asking for a scholarship with this program. So that's what you can see over there in the total value is that the bus charter for the field trip is worth $5,000, potentially maybe five. You know, you're going on 5 field trips over the course of a year, and that's $5,000. And then the scholarship was also $3,000 for the youth. And then the staff time, $1,000 of staff time was the amount that you included for your cash. Down below, you can see the in-kind donation of the volunteer hours and maybe the binoculars that the local gear shop volunteered, which would be your $1,000. All coming together. Oops, I might have missed a slide here. all coming together, it should show at the end that there was going to be a total cost of $10,000 for your project. So that's easy math, with 20% being $2,000 and that $8,000 coming from the UCORE grant. If you have questions about grants and budgets, please reach out to us at any point. We're more than happy to walk this through with you. I know it can be a little bit daunting if you've never done a budget before, but it's pretty simple, and we can make exceptions and help you with things along the way. Looks like we've had a few questions about budgets come in. Thank you, Patrick, for helping answer those. Again, I'll help answer things at the end as well. Okay, tips for success. So we want to talk about ways to make your application stronger and how to do that. I mentioned Every Kid Outdoors. So the Every Kid Outdoors passports that the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation gives out is an awesome program. You can see here on the right, there's the passport with the 10 initiatives that we want kids to be involved with. So planting seeds, gazing at a starry night, being stewards of the earth, following trails, all things that would be components potentially of a grant that you're applying for. There's also the nationwide Every Kid Outdoors program that allows fourth graders to get national parks passes. We have a lot of information on our website here if you want to go through and find detailed information about that program, as well as other ways to get involved with Every Kid Outdoors. And if you need passports, we have so many. So basically the initiative with passports is that you'd hand them out to your kid and they would complete the activity, get a parent or guardian to sign off on it, and then they would email it or send it back to us via mail, and then we can send the child a prize. So it is a fun activity, and hopefully you can utilize that to get more participation in your program. Okay, the Utah Office of Tourism, I think we're all familiar with the Forever Mighty campaign, or the Mighty 5 campaign that came out a few years ago promoting all of Utah's national parks, and the great influx of tourism that we've gotten from that campaign. Now the Office of Tourism has come out with the Forever Mighty campaign, which is, we're here, we're recreating, we're having fun, but are you taking care of the places that you're having fun in? So they have a great resource on their website as well of ways that you can incorporate responsible recreation in your programming. So if you teaching kids leave no trace principles, respecting power of nature, supporting local businesses, sharing your knowledge and guide to enable others, and celebrate the diversity of people and places. Again, we want to teach these skills and this mindset to kids as young as possible to get them recreating outside in responsible ways so that we can enable them for the future to continue to do this. Okay, we want to include partners. Partnerships are a great way to leverage more support for your project. So partners can write letters of support, donate their time or potential money, and show that the project is supported by more than just your organization. We love seeing letters of support from, if you're a city or a county, we want to see support from various nonprofits within your county or potential other governmental agencies saying, yeah, we're on board with this. We love what they're doing, and we want to be involved with you as well. Look to private business owners or other nonprofits and create this network, create kind of a hub of people that you can lean on and help with. Potentially you're running low on cash, and maybe somebody knows a connection of where you can maybe get more cash or more in-kind donation as well. Include your volunteers. Like I mentioned, the volunteer rate is $31.46 within the state. So if you're timesing that by the hours that the volunteers worked, that can be included in your in-kind match. But also use volunteers to network. Volunteers love talking about their volunteer opportunities. So if you can get them there and talking about your program to other people, your program continues to grow and you'll have more success with just more knowledge and more people involved. Obviously being sure to vet your volunteers appropriately, performing background checks, and properly vetting them as they work with young children. And I don't know if I've mentioned it, I apologize if I haven't, but we're looking for youth ages 6 to 18. So if you're kind of dealing with a very young primary children age, kindergarten, younger than 6, then that's not quite what we're aiming for. We're aiming for more of 6 to 18 range. Okay, including cultural heritage, history, and art. So although the primary purpose of this is to get kids outdoor recreating, there's a great way to incorporate historical and artistic layers, I guess you could say, to your program The Division of Outdoor Recreation is really lucky to have partnerships with the State Historic Preservation Office. Every time we go and build trails somewhere, they want to make sure that we're not impeding on a historical site. So they'd be an awesome contact as well if you want to incorporate something historical into your programs. If you're going to be taking a field trip out there, reach out to them. Just making sure that we're incorporating all of recreation and everybody that's using the lands, as well as our native personnel, so native residents of the land. Showing respect and appreciation for that as well is very important. So think of that as you write your narrative and how you're going to incorporate that into this. Inclusivity. If you're printing brochures or materials for participants, think about the language that might be required. All of our Every Kid Outdoors passports are available in English and Spanish. And if you need any other, languages in your community or people of different backgrounds, please take that into consideration. Thinking about your messaging as well, being considerate of LGBTQ+ and BIPOC groups and organizations, and finding ways to promote adaptive communities as well. Shout out, we've had great applications from the National Ability Center, Wasatch Adaptive, Common Ground, Ogden Adaptive. It's great to work with these partners, and if you need help and ways to kind of we want to do this, we're just not sure how to maybe program this and help get more kids with adaptive needs and recreating with us, please reach out to us. We've had great success and connections with these organizations. They're always happy to help give advice and ways to promote this as well. Okay, talking a little bit about reimbursement. So let's say you've earned a grant, everything's awarded, now it's time for reimbursement. And I want to give this information to you now because it's important as you go through your program to think about reimbursement, because you'll be required to collect things along the way. So all of our grants from the the Division of Outdoor Recreation are reimbursement grants, which means that we award you money. You go ahead and spend all the money that you have, and then you ask for reimbursement. So we don't give you the money up front. You're required to front the cost and then come in at the end, and we'll give you a reimbursement for all the costs that you incurred. This is just, kind of a traditional way that we do things to make sure that the funding is spent in an appropriate way and to the standard that that you asked for. So, like I said, this means that you front the projects and then we come in to reimburse. If you, again, are kind of like, we have zero cash, what are we going to do? We can't do that. We have something called on-the-spot funding for those who might need a little bit of help. So let's say you are invoiced from the local gear shop for the equipment that you're purchasing, and you have an invoice and needs to be paid within 30 days. You could send that to us. We could send you a check for that exact amount, and then you could help cover that within that time frame. We won't ever send a check directly to a vendor. We'll send it to you, and then you can cover the costs. That's one way we can help if you are really tight on cash. We would encourage, though, as you go through the process of this grant, that you collect all your invoices, receipts, checks, volunteer labor, and staff time. So if you are going to have a big volunteer day where you have people out with kids recreating and helping out, make sure they sign in and sign out, and so that you have track record of the time spent. Also, if you're going to have payments, we cannot just take invoices. We need proof of payment. So if that's a check or a receipt or, a bill, a proof of payment, that's required for this. We can't just see invoices. And then at the end of all of this, if you send us all this reimbursement packet in a beautiful little PDF file, we'll go ahead and send you guys off a check. If there is portions through the grant that you say, it's been 6 or 7 months and we need an influx of cash, we've spent all of the money that we can, we'll ask you to send a partial reimbursement request over to us, and we can help you with that as well. So again, that will just be covering the costs that you've incurred thus far, keeping in mind that the match requirement will be required at that time as well. Okay. Reporting. So with our other grants, with the infrastructure grants, it's easy. We go on a site visit and we just look and say, yep, you built the trail. This is exactly what you had in your description. We walk the trail, or we ride the trail, or we climb the trail, or whatever it is that we have funded. But this one's a little bit different. There's obviously not going to be an actual, physical project that you have created, but it's this program that you've developed. So we want to see how the funding has been used through a reporting system. So again, this is important as you if you get awarded a grant, to keep in mind how things were going as you fund this project. So we want the description of the project and what was accomplished. Maybe this differs exactly from what your application was. We hope not. We hope everything kind of aligns with what you asked for, the partners that you had involved, the number and age range of kids that you were able to serve, the stewardship principles that were taught, the other areas of emphasis potentially with historical and artistic and inclusivity. We love photos and videos. If that's something that you're able and legally, able to give to us, we'll use for future promotion. It's fun to see actual kids recreating and being outside in these programs. And then a reflection component as well. So what was this program successful with? Would you change things about it? And with next year's UCORE grant, or the things that you would like to see differently from our division with this program. We're really open to feedback from all of our applicants and all the grants that we do fund. So if there are things that you say, this wasn't really helpful, this didn't work out for us, the contract timeline was too long or too short, or whatever it is, please reach out and let us know. Okay, I think, yep, here we go. So dates and deadlines. The Utah Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant will be opening October 23rd. So you've got about a month to kind of brainstorm, get your pieces together, get all the players involved. But then you also have a full almost month and a half to get things going, because we'll close December 4th. So you have, probably 6 weeks or so to get things established. The early deadline review is November 17th. So that just is a time frame when I can look at your application and say, hey, this is something that you may want to change. Your budget doesn't quite add up. Maybe change this language in your program application, things like that. So again, we're very willing to help you through the process as long as it's before the 17th of November. And then the grants will be awarded January of 2024. So the window, because we close December 4th and things aren't released until January, is because I might be the grant administrator, but I do not decide yes or no on your grants. We'll have a subcommittee of volunteers that have really great experience in outdoor recreation and youth education that will be in charge of scoring and deciding which grants get awarded funding or not. Contracts are 18 months, so you'll be expiring in July of 2025. So again, you might have a great idea of a project that's going to be happening like right now. Maybe it's the school year and you're like, we need money. Unfortunately, anything that you're paying right now will not count towards the project. You need to wait until a contract is in place in January. So if you do have any projects that might be happening before then, just don't spend money, wait until January for those programs. Program visits. So like reporting, we love to just see what's going on with your programs. And I personally would love to come and be involved with your programs and see what you're doing with your youth. It's awesome to see things in action and see, not just, words on a page about a program, but kids involved with outdoor recreation. So if it's convenient and appropriate, please let us know if there's a day that you're taking kids outside on a field trip, or if you're teaching them some sort of STEM activity in a classroom. It'd be awesome to come and help and be there with you guys to see what's going on. Okay, this kind of wraps up the presentation. So just to give you, again, contact information or resources, I'll be your best point of contact. Please reach out if you have any questions or concerns about grants. I've recorded this whole presentation and we have these slides available to you that I'll put on our website afterwards. But we just want to make sure that the resources are there for you. The website here, recreation.utah.gov, will take you to our basic homepage for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. But then if you click on the Grants and Planning tab, you'll see an entire list of all of the grants that we offer, and UCORE will be one of them. If you click on that, you'll see a homepage that has a program guide that goes into specifics of all the things that I've covered today in this presentation. So if you do need a little bit more detail, you say, she didn't cover this, I want to know exactly where this is, please go to that page and you can download the program guide, view it virtually. We didn't print out any hard copies of our program guide this year, just because this was a little bit of a tight timeline with everything. And the webinar, obviously, we couldn't hand you a paper copy over the internet. So click on our website, go over there to find out more information. But yeah, with that kind of concludes my presentation. So let's see. Looks like Patrick's done an awesome job in making sure that all of our questions were answered in the chat. Does anyone else have questions that they want to ask me now, you can unmute and go ahead or raise your hand. And thank you, Patrick, for putting that link into the chat. Perfect. That's the program guide if you want to view that.
Caroline, great job. I had one question that I couldn't quite answer. Perhaps you can refresh my memory. I know we had discussed it, but background checks on potential like staff volunteers. Is that an eligible cost?
That's a good question. I think we kind of put that under maybe the trainings or things that might not be an eligible cost. But we could talk about it again if it's something that is a large cost for your programs. I think it fell into the ineligible costs, but yeah, we could talk more about that.
Great, thank you.
Sierra, yeah.
Hey there. So we had an ongoing, I work for the Forest Service, and we had an ongoing multi-interagency program called Nature High Summer Camp, where we would take 30 high school students into the National Forest for a week, and they would do a day in the life of a hydrologist, soil scientist, etc. COVID obviously put a kibosh on that, and we are just now getting it back up and going. So I'm a federal agency, which wasn't in your list of eligible people. So, and he sounds like we may be able to apply this year, but I'm curious if we also have a lot of NGO partners, Snow College, USU, all the federal agency, land management agencies are involved. We've also got a few nonprofits, et cetera. So is there a better organization that this comes from? They all match in kind. Money isn't the issue. It's more of like which organization would have the best opportunity for us to receive this funding. That was our biggest hiccup every year, is just having enough money to run it, because we've got to buy all the gear, we go camping for a week, etc. And it just got so cumbersome that we were scraping by every year. So this program would be awesome, but I want to make sure we're giving ourselves the best advantage when we do an application. I don't want to become ineligible because the Forest Service applies for it instead of Snow College or one of our nonprofits. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, and it's a good question. And Patrick, I think, touched on this earlier on, just that federal agencies are now eligible to apply for a Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. And so because they are eligible for that one, it seems like they should be eligible for this one as well. But I guess I would say if it's a question of who should apply, I guess if you're nonprofit partners, potentially, I think that would be the place to go at first. Just it's easy with the federal government. I know has a little bit more cumbersome reporting and things like that. We love you guys, but sometimes it can be difficult with that. And with this money just being a little bit of a smaller ask, it might be helpful to just have the nonprofit take up that reporting and reimbursement process.
Perfect. And so from my understanding, that match just has to be from the entire partnership. So like if the Forest Service donates $10,000, it doesn't actually, and we'll say Snow College applies for the grant, the money can just be from our partnership, and that $10,000 would count as match. It doesn't actually have to be Snow College's exact 20% match. Is that correct?
Yes. I think we've decided that the applicant themselves don't have to come up with the cash. It can be a partnership that donates cash. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like a great program. Hope to see an application from you guys.
It is.
I think James had a question. James Jordan.
Hi, I was just wanting some clarity on reimbursement. Are reimbursement checks issued at the end of the grant period?
Yes, they will be. If you need partial reimbursements halfway or anytime throughout the project, we can help with a partial reimbursement. But reimbursements, if you're asking for just the one reimbursement, would happen at the end of the contract.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And I should say, sorry, the end of the contract is the latest that we could give you a reimbursement. If you finish up your project within a year and there's still 6 months left on the contract, you could ask for reimbursement whenever you're finished with all the project costs. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions? And then we see, yeah, please send the budget template link along with the follow-up email. Definitely we'll send all of that out. Candace.
Sorry, had to unmute there. Patrick already kind of answered this, but I'm just getting a little more clarity. We have two of us in the same office that would want the grant because one of us, it would go towards horse and livestock and stuff. And then mine would go more towards biking and outdoor stuff like that. So you can do two in one area.
Yeah, so you're asking if you would just apply for one like just do one application combining the both?
Apply for one and then I do two, or is that kind of frowned upon, or?
It's not frowned upon. If it's one organization, that it's going to be, you know, if you can kind of maximize the dollars that you're using by applying for just using one application, I would say go for it. The question or the concern, I think, if you both were applying for two different grants, you're competing against yourself basically. And so if we see two applications from the same organization, we might not be compelled to apply both applications, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Yep.
Did you say which, like, who or how big the grant selection committee is?
No, I didn't. That's a good question. We have 11 volunteer committee members on our grant selection committee. And if you want kind of a list of what that will be made up of, we can definitely provide that. But it's kind of a combination of adaptive users, city representatives, nonprofits in the youth outdoor recreation area, STEM teachers, PE representatives, people from state government. So there's a wide variety of people we tried to maximize and handpick people that have a very wide knowledge about this type of stuff.
I guess my greater question that I've been thinking about over these past few years and learning about all your grants is that if you apply for one, does that kind of put you at a disadvantage for another one? Like for both this and like the, oh gosh, whatever that tier one.
Yeah, the Youth Outdoor Recreation Grant.
Yeah, that one.
No, I think we love to see repeat applicants, especially within a variety of our programs. So if you've gotten, right, like your ropes course, for example, and now you're needing equipment to enhance the ropes course and kind of take more kids out to it, that's a fantastic way. And I would say we would not frown upon that at all. We recognize that people come to us yearly for phase projects or trying to increase, you know, they've gotten the trail and now they want the ski part next to it. And we love that. So the long-winded answer was no, we're not frowning upon multiple applications. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Sierra.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my questions as I was listening is, so you're okay with this? Because we did this program, it ran for 25 years before we had to take a COVID break. So we intend on getting it back going continuously. So that wouldn't be an issue to apply for this annually.
No, it's definitely not an issue. I think if you obviously maybe show that each year it's increasing or your reporting numbers are higher than the previous years and you need more funding each year, that's definitely something you can ask for each year.
Okay, so our numbers wouldn't go up because we only have the limitations of having 30 students. That's the capacity of the cabins and all of those things.
Okay.
Focused around underserved, but like the needs for swag and the needs for new like nets every year and the needs for food to feed the children for a week up in the forest, those kind of things, like those costs are annual, if that makes sense, which was always our issue, is like, how do we pay to feed the kids? Because the federal government, our money can't go towards food. So it was always grants that helped feed the children.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. If it's something annual that you're going to need funding for each year, there's no restrictions on applying each year. There's no guarantee that we'll fund it each year, but no, you can definitely apply each year for the same program.
Thanks.
These are great questions, and this helps us. I think this is obviously the first time that I've run the program, so to hear some questions and concerns about, you know, things like background checks, or maybe we didn't think about things like that. I think this is definitely helpful, and we hope that each year it can get better. So this feedback is awesome from you guys to say, hey, we need more funding for this and not for this. So that's helpful. Any other questions? I definitely can be on here till the hour is up. So if you have any last minute questions, you're welcome to stay. If not, you you can leave and we won't be offended.
So I do have, oh, somebody else asked. I'll wait.
Oh, go ahead.
So this is Josie Showalter, work at Mill Creek. And you know that we have all those amazing things that you guys have helped us with the infrastructure. And we're thinking of trying to apply to so that we can bring kids from like Title I schools to come for free and enjoy, like, learn a little bit of ice skating lessons, but maybe also some rock climbing.
Awesome.
Is it okay if we include all the different, because we have, you know, roller skating, ice skating, and the rock wall. If we include all of those within our application as part of the programming.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure that it was okay for us to combine the different types of outdoor recreation.
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. I think that kind of goes to the other one as well with like maybe the equestrian user, if I heard that right, of you're one organization and maybe you're doing multiple activities within youth. That whole list of eligible activities, that doesn't mean you just have to pick one and hone in on it for your project. You can definitely say we're going to be taking them, you know, I would say hiking and bird watching are 2 activities combined in one. So if you're taking them roller skating as well as climbing, that's totally fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Josie. Jen?
Hi, thanks, Caroline. I'm calling from Summit Journeys, and just wanted to clarify something. You said in the costs for this that you would not fund, just in my notes here, I have no reimbursement for staff, yet in the things that you do reimburse for, in the positive light, I had staffing on there as well. So could you just clarify exactly what within staffing is not funded and what is funded?
Yes, thank you. And sorry if that was confusing. I just wanted to go back to that.
Oh, it could be my.
Yeah, so we have staff trainings as ineligible costs, but full-time and seasonal staffing payroll is definitely something we will pay for. Meal reimbursements for staff or lodging costs for staff. But if you're actually just paying them, you know, their hourly rate, that's something we will cover for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally wrote that down wrong. Thanks for the clarification.
No, thanks. I'm happy to see you at Summit Journeys. I'm glad to see
Yeah.
you faces there. Yay.
Yep, trying to get it up and rolling.
Awesome. Great to hear it.
Thanks.
All right. Anything last minute that's burning questions on your mind about this program?
Hello, my name is Salam, and our organization actually is, we are a nonprofit, but we are in California, and we've taken young people out to Utah in the past. So that's why I was thinking this might be a grant that could be great for us. We've taken them out in the outback and partnered with some local organizations in Boulder, Utah, to do kind of like the no trace, leave no trace education around it, and we've taken them camping. So would we be eligible to apply?
Is your organization's is the headquarters in California? You're not based in Utah?
Yeah.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
California.
that would just be the issue. It has to be a Utah-based program.
But the outdoor program is in Utah.
Right. Yeah, we understand that. It's just a matter of funding things that are only within the state boundaries. So we couldn't fund a program that was headquartered outside of the state, even if you are bringing them in. We don't allow for in and out of state travel for this program. But yeah, sorry about that. But thanks
No
for
worries.
listening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Jen? I think I saw Jen's hand go up, or Wild Canyon Discovery, whoever wants to go first, or Kathleen.
Quick question. Did you announce how much money total was available for like the whole grant process?
Yes. So there's $250,000.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question about Navajo Nation. Our nonprofit is located in Utah, but we also serve people on the Navajo Nation. And I'm just wondering, do they have to live in Utah to be part of a program that could be funded by this grant? If we're taking them like camping in Utah to Navajo Lake in Kane County.
Yeah. As long as everything's happening within state borders. And we could talk about that too, if you're going, out of state borders, but still on Navajo Nation. Maybe let's talk a little bit after and see how much of your programming would be within Utah and without.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd love to see an application from you though. Did you have a question as well?
No, you answered it. Thanks so much.
Okay, perfect. These are good questions. And then we see a lot of people asking for the budget email. So yeah, I'm gonna we have that simple budget template. And then we've also put together for all of our grants kind of a how-to budget 5-minute video that Patrick made a while back. And I'll make sure that we have access to all of that you guys can view and look at. And yeah, Patrick, I'd love to chat more with them as well. All right, we got 6 more minutes. Anything else? We'll be doing a little bit, I mean, I'll be on our grant workshop tour in November as well, and kind of nearing the end of application windows. But if you want to talk in person at any of those workshops, I think I can put that back up here. Oh, this was towards the beginning. These are locations that will be on these dates. If you want to talk in person, happy to. Barbara. I think you're muted, Barbara, if you're trying to chat. So sorry, I can't hear you. Awesome, Ashley. Yeah, we're excited to come up northeast to see you guys in Duchesne as well. I think that's the first day we'll be kicking off on Monday. First stop. This is a really fun couple of weeks for us. It's a little bit exhausting, but we love to get out and visit you guys where you're at and see you in person. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, we'll definitely close a couple minutes early. But again, thank you everybody for taking the time. Last call for the budget email, Patrick. And then, yeah, I'll make sure that we have the slides, the presentation, the recording, all of it posted on our website. That'll be the best way to find all of this as well. And then again, I'll just put my contact information here at the end. Hopefully you guys all had it, but that's the best way to reach me. Just email. All right. Thanks, everybody. It was really great meeting with you today. Hope you have a good rest of your Monday, and we're looking forward to seeing all your applications come in come October.